Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for surviving the conference. My name is Rosalía Lorenzo. I am a psychologist at Niño Jesús Hospital. And I'm here to speak about some aspects regarding young adults and adolescents with cancer. I have some notes. I don't have like a good English, so hopefully you will understand me and understand our patients. The specific needs fall into several areas. This includes diagnosis, treatment, remission, relapse, and palliative care. Before looking at these areas, I would like to introduce you to three special young women who are helping us to understand their needs. To improve future treatment, we will have to hear from Andrea, Maria, and Anna. Please introduce yourself.
Hello. My name is Anna Kogan. I'm 22 years old now. I was diagnosed with an extraskeletal Ewing sarcoma when I was 16 years old, and I was treated in the pediatric hospital in the Hospital Niño Jesús in Madrid by Álvaro La Saleta.
Well, I am Andrea Ruano. I'm 21 years old. I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma in my tibia, bone cancer, and I was treated in the Hospital Niño Jesús. And my doctors were Álvaro and Miguel Ángel, the MO.
Hello, I'm Maria Sastre. I have 30 years old, and when I have 29, I was diagnosed by Hodgkin lymphoma in 3B stadium, and I was treated in the adult area in Palma de Mallorca, in my hometown.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Let's start. Firstly, we'll look at diagnosis. That we can speak about emotional response. For young people to assimilate to their diagnosis as a difficult and emotional time, we need to be aware as professionals how to make this assimilation easier. Late diagnosis, sadly, this is far too common. Youth awareness is key here. Communication can be prevention. Information to all, including patients. Far too often, information is given just to their parents. By giving our patients the information, they can be prepared for their symptoms, reduce their fear, be able to communicate with others about their symptoms. As a result, we can improve treatment. Breaking environment, a new schedule and focus often takes time. Continuing education and other commitments will often maintain a sense of normality. Fertility. This is an aspect often left out in diagnosis period. We have to think about the later psychological effects, to think about how we speak to young people becoming adults, and how we can start thinking about their treatment. So now let's have some questions to all of them. The first question is, were you given and always had access to information in the diagnosis period of your illness?
When I was diagnosed, firstly it took around 7 months for the doctors to diagnose me, even though I was complaining about pain from the first minute I saw a lump in my back. It was very obvious, it was sticking out. You could see it when I was dressed. It was very obvious. And I went to an A&E unit, and the doctor just looked at me and went, "You're young, you practice sports, you're perfectly healthy, this is probably nothing, go home, go and see a dermatologist." She said the dermatologist was out and I should go and see another dermatologist in another hospital, so this took a few weeks, and then I got to see another dermatologist for another reason, which I had already booked an appointment for. And he said he wasn't worried about why it was there, but that lump on my back was going to go away with a cream. He gave me a cream and sent me home, and I kept complaining about pain for months and months, and he was absolutely convinced that it was fine. And then I went away, and I kept complaining about pain, and they just said I was young, I was healthy, it was fine, there was nothing to worry about. And when I finally got diagnosed, because there was such an emphasis that I was fine and I was healthy and I was young and there was no way it was going to be anything that I should worry about, I didn't expect it at all. I walked into the oncology unit the first time for some tests before they diagnosed me, and the head of the department asked me what I knew about my illness, and I turned around and said I knew nothing because I wasn't ill, and I was heading in for tests to be diagnosed with a Ewing sarcoma. So I don't think I was giving enough information. I don't think the information was there to begin with, and when I was finally diagnosed, it took a very long time for the information to get to me.
I have to say that I was a basketball player, so at the first my parents thought that it was something I have done with my leg or jumping or something, but after 2 weeks I couldn't walk normally, so they take me to the hospital, and with an X-ray the doctors saw what's happening there, and I was directly sent to the Niño Jesús. And the doctors talked to my parents, so I was always outside the room, not listening at all. And when the treatment started, it took for me like a month to say, oh, wait, I have cancer? Really? What's going on? And after that, in the 3rd month, I had the first review of my treatment, and the doctors say, oh, there's no metastasis anymore. And which were like, do I really have metastasis? My parents were kept hidden information from me. And after that, I told them I wanted to know everything. And since that moment, I always had enough access to everything.
For me, it was so hard the 8 months before I was diagnosed, because I went from doctor to doctor, and I visited 8 different doctors, dermatologists, allergics, and no one was able to diagnose me. First, they told me that I have scabies or vasculitis. Maybe they told me that I was crazy. I had a lot of stress, because my principal symptoms was the itch in my skin, and I couldn't sleep about those 8 months. And I felt very helpless, because for one moment I thought maybe I'm crazy, or I'm so stressed, or something like this. But then when one day my body says to me, hey, you need to do something, you can't live like this, and I go to the emergency area in the hospital, and then one day they made me an X-ray. That X-ray changed my life, because I had here 10 centimeters of cancer in my mediastin, and it was like this.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, well, I think it's clear, but we are in front of nurses and doctors, so I will ask you, do you think it is important to have full access to information about your illness from the time of diagnosis?
I personally think it's vital, because it's a very big change in your life, and when you feel that you don't have enough information, or there's information that is being kept away from you, you don't build up the confidence with your doctor, you don't believe in what they're doing, and it becomes very hard to follow a treatment when you don't believe in what they're telling you or what they're doing with you.
I also think it's really important, because I think knowledge makes the fear disappear. So if I know what they're doing with me, I can feel that I can do it. That if I'm going through blind situation, it's like what's going on. I don't understand anything. I need to know what's happening in young people and adolescent young adults. I think, and that knowledge is really important.
Like my partners, I think that it's vital to know what's going on with your body and what's going on with all the tests and all the treatments that the doctors have made to you to fight against cancer.
And how was the transition into your new environment or schedule?
It was very bad to start with. It was horrible. I'm not going to lie, it was horrible. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't want to know anything about what the doctors were saying. I was absolutely close to everyone and anything that was going on. I just wanted to go through treatment as fast as possible to get it done with and to end with the situation. I thought it was, I just wanted my life back, and they were stopping my life from happening. So I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't want to meet anyone in hospital. I didn't want to know anything about anyone that was around me because I just wanted to get done with it and finish.
My transition was kind of crazy because at that moment I was moving from one home to another with my parents, so it was like, I'm living here, no, I'm living there, no, I'm having my treatment there. It's like, where am I? I don't know where I'm sleeping today, when do I have to come to the hospital again? And the situation was, I'm with my mother or with my father alone in a city I don't know, and it was crazy, literally, yeah.
I think that for me was easier because I like to stay with a lot of people always, and for the first moment that I was diagnosticated, I was with a lot of friends or family, and I wrote a blog about my experience, and for me it was good because I have a lot of people around me, and that helped me a lot.
The next one is for professionals, to give them skills. How do you feel you could have been better supported by your healthcare professionals?
For me, there was not enough information given about what was going to happen afterwards. There was a lot of information about the immediate effects of cancer and the treatment I was going to follow, and the schedule, and when I was going to be in hospital, and when I was going to be at home, and when my hair was going to start falling off, and there was all these times, but there was no information about what was going to happen afterwards, and what the late effects were, and if there were any late effects, which I personally now suffer from chronic pain in the area where I had my tumor. So for me, that was a big thing that was missing in my treatment plan.
I think the doctors made a good job with me and the oncology side, but the traumas, until the very moment of my surgery, the first one, they didn't know how to tell me because they didn't know what they're going to find where they open my leg up. So it was like 50-50, and then after the other surgeries, it was like, it's supposed to go in right, but it's not going right. What's happening? I don't know. Do you know? No, it's no.
Usually my doctor couldn't answer all my questions about my new pains or my new feelings or about my mental care. For me, it's the important thing because the pain of the chemos was treated, but the worst thing was that my daughter sits in front of me and says, well, every person is different, and maybe you will have pain in your head, or maybe you have fever, or oh, it's normal, but when I was in home and my heart starts beating, boom, 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 then I thought, oh, maybe I have an infarct or something like this, and it was for me very confused.
Okay, and the last one for this section. Now you're in remission. Can you explain the information you were given about fertility, the actions you took according to this information, and your subsequent feeling about this now?
I think this is definitely a touchy subject. I was given no information whatsoever. When my treatment finished, it was, I think, my second time back a few months later, and my doctor went, maybe we should think about your fertility. And I went, what about it? You know, I'm 16, I'm 17, I don't want to have a baby tomorrow. What are we going to speak about? And he went, well, maybe you're not fertile. And I was like, well, why hadn't there been any information about this before? Why did no one mention this before? I felt like it wasn't a priority for me when I was 16, but if there was information given to me at the time, I would have definitely done something about it, which I couldn't when it was explained to me.
The only doctor who told me about my fertility, it was my endocrino. And it was at the very last review with him at the hospital, Niño Jesús, and it was curious because I went through the consult and go out, and then I saw him came out running through the door and say, like, Andrea, come here, we need to talk about something forgot earlier. It was like, okay, there's a problem, anything. And they were like, I don't think you're going to have your own baby ever. And it was like, I'm 18, I don't want a baby. What are you talking about? No, ever. You can do something in vitro or something, but you won't have your own baby. And it was like, okay, no problem. And until now, it's okay, but maybe in the future, I would like to have my own baby, and I'd like to have more information earlier, in the moment of the treatment or something, because it was completely blind. I didn't know chemo can make that to the body, so.
Okay, then I have 29 years when I was diagnosticated, and for me it was a very important question. And I consult some fertility clinics before the chemos and before to talk with my doctor to freeze my ovules. But when I talked with my doctor, he told me that my type of treatment was okay, and my fertility doesn't be damaged for the treatment. But then talking with another girls that they had the same chemo and the same age like me and the same lymphoma, they told me that they have some injections, treatments, or something like this, and I didn't know it. And now I'm 30. I don't know if I can have children, and for me, I'm very confused about this thing, and for me, it's a very important thing, and I don't really know if I can have children.
Okay, let's think about it. Next. Let's look at treatment. Once again, communication is very important at this age. The patients need to know what the treatment is, how it works, and how the side effects it will cause. The stigma associated with cancer becomes very apparent at this stage. The patient's understanding of treatment can overcome difficulties adjusting to their new schedule. Accepting social support, communicating with loved ones, and most importantly, to establish the notion that life is not on hold at this age. Through treatment, the patient should be prompt to communicate with healthcare professionals to aid efficient treatment. They should be comfortable asking questions about their aspect of the treatment and progress. Another important aspect here is to encourage their adjust routine, to continue with education and their personal lives. Cancer should not mean to any patients, because they are ill, that they should break from their personal activities, relationships, and sacrifice their personal space or time. And now for some questions about what I've talked. After being told your method of treatment, were you given information about both the long and short-term side effects? How this information affect you?
As I've already said, there was a lot of information about the immediate effects of treatment, but no information about the long-term effects, and I don't know if it's because no one knew. I know in the UK there's clinics for late effect treatment. In Spain there's none. So whether it was because no one knew or whether it was because they didn't think it was important, like fertility at my age, I think late effects they were ignored, and immediate effects were very, very much present.
I remember the first thing I was told about it was the hair. You're going to go or get bald, I don't know. And it was like, I don't care about the hair. I just want to know if my leg is going to be okay. Is the pain going to stop anytime, or what's going on? And the hair thing, that neither help or not, because I didn't really care. But the short side effects, yeah, I was told about, but as she said, the fertility thing, it wasn't a point in any discussion, and I don't know, maybe there's another things that they should have talked that they didn't.
Well, I read a lot of information about the side effects and the short-term effects, and for me the most important, like my colleagues say, it's the long-term effects, and no one talks about it, no one says, or my doctor says nothing about the long-term effects, and now are the effects that I have suffering, and for me it's like all the cancer, very confused.
Okay, next question. What personal support did you lack during treatment, and what unexpected support did you receive?
For me, the psychologist on board at the time didn't click with me personally. We didn't speak to each other by when I was like a month into treatment. Didn't even say hello to each other when we saw each other. And that definitely lacked. And because I had such bad experience, I didn't want to ask for help anymore. And that was a big, big mistake. And the unexpected help for me was she insisted, when we were on good terms at the start, that I got to know other patients that were my age and that were already into treatment or finishing treatment, and that was very important. And I said I wasn't there to make friends, I was there to get treated and to go home. My friends were outside of hospital. And she said I was wrong, and I kept saying, you know, you have no clue. I have my friends at home. I don't need any more friends. I'm fine. I'm here to get treated for this illness, and then I'm going home. I'm going with my friends. And she convinced me to get to know Andrea and some other patients, and it was definitely the best help I could get because she was already finishing her treatment. She had a similar thing that I had, so it made me feel like I wasn't the only one in the world that had that, and that my life had stopped, and it was just me, that I was the one, that I was isolated, that I was also, as Sue said, I was young and happened to have cancer, but that I wasn't just the only one.
First of all, she's going to kill me, but she kicked me out several times out of her room before she agreed to talk to me. And I lacked the presence of my friends. As I said, I was receiving my treatment out of my hometown, and I didn't have anyone close pre-cancer. And in there, I did know a lot the other kids, the other adolescents, but I didn't have anyone in my new home or here or there in the hospital. But I have to say that the nurses did a great job with me, because I was the older one over there, and I always like to draw, to paint, to do things. They sneak in the room with me and do things like, oh, let's draw me something. And it was like, pass the time through until someone as my age came to the hospital, or I go back to home again.
I think that a lot of people of my around disappeared when they knew that I had cancer, because most of the people doesn't know what to say or what to do, and they prefer to look to the other side, or maybe for the stigma of the cancer, they look at the other side. But I write a blog about my experience, and I meet a lot of people and a lot of friends that had cancer too, and for me, the people who leave me comments or send me emails asking or say me, hey, hello, I love your blog, or good experience, or something like this was the best support that I had, and of course, to talk with the people that have cancer too, for me was very important help.
Two other questions. How was your professional support, and what do you feel was missing during treatment?
As I've said, for me, the nurses were really good. My doctors, they were good. It was the psychological side that was a bit, it was ignored slightly, because I didn't have a good experience with the psychologist I met. So it was the thing that was missing.
For me, it was pretty nice with the psychologist also. And I think the only thing that I have to say is that one doctor was something like house, and he was like, what are you doing? Are you going out, or are you staying here giving me more work? And it was like, you're doing your work, so go out and do it and leave me alone.
I had a lot of support from the nurses that gave me the chemos, and it was okay with my daughter, but I missed that in the hospital someone offers me a psychologist treatment. No one says to me, hey, do you need a psychologist or something like this? No one tells me this, and I miss it.
Okay, thank you. The last one, how important was it to continue your education or professional life, in your case, personal relationships and general activities?
It's vital. As Sue said, again, I think I speak for everyone. We were just young people that happened to have cancer, but we were young people to start with. And for me to continue with my education was the only thing that was normal, important for me.
At the start of my treatment, I was the new girl in school, and over that, I was the missing new girl in school. I only went to the hospital class a few times, but I think that continue studying makes me stay focused, because I do really like keep doing things, and even if I was feeling sick or something, to keep reading, to keep writing or doing math problems, it was to keep your mind out of the room and the chemo thing, and it was like, I don't want to see, I just keep going and on this and let the time pass.
Okay, I was working when diagnosticated me, and now I'm working again since 1 month, more or less, but I was very lucky because in my company always treat me like it was normal, and for me it's very, very important to come back to my job, and it was like that never happens, and it was very good and very important, like my colleagues say. Yeah.
Thank you, girls. Next one is remission, a day that all patients long for. Although this is a stage that all patients want to come as soon as possible, at this point, it might often seem less of a point and more of a process. Patients need to be prepared that this stage is not like a switch, now I'm better. It can often be a slow transition into things to continue considering. Our patients need to be prepared for future symptoms, to understand how to recognize them. It is important to communicate directly to the patients as precaution. At this point, the adjustments into their new and old routine will often be difficult. Awareness of this is vital to avoid difficulties and trauma. The fear of relapse will continue to be a concern for the patients, whereas others may feel no cancer, no problems, right? Personal relationships may have changed and friends lost. With such dramatic changes, patients need to be prepared for their battle into normality. They need to be aware that a new battle has begun to reclaim their new life back, and it's perfectly normal for this to happen. So, no cancer, no problem, right? Anna, can you tell us about your side effects you are currently experiencing?
I went back to school. I finished my time at school, and I decided I was very well prepared to go to study abroad. So I went to the UK to study my degree. And when I was in my first year, I started experiencing pain in the area of my tumor. And that was the first symptom I had when I was in. So the first thing my mind went back into was, I'm in, again. It's happening, again, all over again. Just when I've got my life back, it's all happening again. So I came back, had tests. It wasn't cancer. But then I got... No, they didn't, my doctors hadn't come across anyone having my type of pain or my symptoms before. So I got sent away to a pain clinic. And the first thing they said when I walked into the pain clinic was, wow, you're young. And I was like, well, do I have to apologize? What do I say? Is that a problem? I don't really understand. So every single time I've been to a different pain clinic or a pain consultant, it's been the first thing that has come out of their mouths. Wow, you're young. And I've always reacted the same, yes. So can we get over it now? I'm young, yes, okay. It's the first thing that always comes into the conversation. And then I don't think anyone really knows how to treat my pain or why it's happened. Ewing sarcoma is not really well known anyway. I felt very, very much alone through my late effect, whilst I didn't feel alone when I had cancer. And that has been definitely very, very hard on me. I've had to drop out of university for a year for my late effects, for my pain, because I couldn't stand living on my own. And being abroad. I'm now back at home again, finishing my degree from home, whilst my university friends are at uni, living on their own, having the life a young person should have, and I don't. So I've already been through cancer, and now I have to encounter even more problems, which weren't spoken about before.
No cancer, no problem at first, yes, but I had bone cancer, so after the treatment and my surgery, my leg needed to get recovered. And I've been through 4 titanium plaques broken, and I've kind of curved my bone now. I don't know why or what happened. The doctors doesn't know how that could happen. Titanium is broke. You kind of broke titanium. I broke 4. And now I beat cancer, but I also beat titanium. So now I'm waiting for my next surgery in which I'm cancer-free, but I don't know what's going to happen with my leg and with my life, because I've been for 6 years wearing the crutches, the leg, the pain, the one surgery every year and a half. I mean, it's going to get surgery, get recovered, and then get broken, and all over again during these 6 years. So I don't know.
And now you're going to an adult hospital, right?
Yeah, the Niño Jesus told me a few weeks ago that I couldn't stay there anymore, so I can be translated to an adult hospital. So I'm waiting to get my appointment with an adult trauma doctor to tell me what's going to happen next.
Okay.
The first days when you have superred the cancer, it's happy and party, but now for me, my experience is different because physically I'm better than when I was fighting against cancer, but psychically for me it's very hard because the trauma and the hard experience that I live changed my life and changed my feelings and make me feel now I'm very lost and I'm very strange because now I'm a different person, and it's not easy to come back to my old to the routine now I'm a different person like 1 year ago. For me to come back to the routine, it's very, very, very hard.
I have a hard question. Do you still worry about your cancer?
I think I would lie if I say I don't worry about it. I have constant pain where I had my tumor. It's a constant reminder that I had cancer, that my tumor was there, and I could come back whenever it wants to because it had a mind of its own when it came the first time around. So why wouldn't it come back? So it's definitely present in my life, although I don't say it out loud or I don't speak about it as much, but it's definitely present every single day.
She said I'm kind of similar situation because my leg keeps making trouble, making noise, and she's in the back, but my leg is on the side. I mean, I go through the street and it was like, oh, a leg with a rodillera. I mean, yeah, it's a leg with something. What's up? And I don't know, the problems that keep repeating on it, it's like, it's going to cancer come back again sometime or not, or it's just a bone, or what's happened? Why it keeps going on and on?
Of course, I'm very worried about this because I'm always thinking, maybe I have a cancer again, what type of cancer I will have again, and if I die, and I think that's a fear that all the persons who had cancer must live with it. It's inevitable. Always I will have fear about cancer.
And how have your personal relationships changed as a result or since having cancer?
I remember a few days into treatment, I was treated in Madrid, and I'm from Madrid, so my room was rammed with people coming to visit. And then when it wasn't so new, my treatment was almost 1 year long, so people kind of forget, get used to it. It's normal, you have cancer, you're in hospital, it's been happening for a year already or for a few months already. They get used to it. And I remember having a conversation with my dad a few weeks into my treatment and telling him that the people I had closer didn't feel close anymore, and the people that I didn't even know felt like they were vital in my life. So it was very hard to understand that the people that were really close to me physically weren't close to me at that time, and the people that were close to me then, I didn't expect them to be or know them before, or maybe I did, but I didn't know them that well. So when I finished my treatment, it definitely made clear who I could consider my friend and who I could just consider someone that was around me and was just there, but wasn't really a friend.
I remember that during my treatment, my cousin didn't want to see me anytime. She was always looking for an excuse to not go into my home, and a few years later, I asked her, why did you do that? I mean, I was the same person. And it was like, yeah, you were my cousin, but you were sick, and I couldn't handle see you that way. And it's like, okay, but I understand that, and I can share it, but no, and there's no friends around me at the hospital pre-illness. And I have to say that all people I have around me were people like Anna, who was living with me that moment.
Well, I think that I'm very lucky because I had a lot of friends and a lot of family always around me, and now they are always around me too. Some of my relations changed because my life changed, and now I don't want the same things that I wanted before. I split with my boyfriend, but it was a good decision. But I'm very lucky because I had a lot of friends and a lot of people around me during all the time and come with me to the chimos, and I'm very lucky about this.
Thank you, girls. Let's move. Relapse. A patient's worst nightmare. By this point, a patient has done it all, seen the movie, and got the t-shirt. They also know it was a crap movie. Our relapsed patients need to be guided through the same diagnosis as before. The difference at this point is to re-establish faith in treatment. This is the start of a new fight, not an old one. Relapse is an ugly word. This is the second treatment with a new approach. Along with our support to the patients, we must consider the effects that this will have for other patients. Seeing a friend going through this process can have obvious knock on the effects of a fellow patients and friends. Fear of following their patients into relapse will have an impact on the well-being of any patients, if not on their medical health, then on their mental health. Our support must be extended to these people, offering support and reassuring patients and people around them. Communicating openly this information is important. Who wants to find out what their friend is in relapse through Facebook or from a tweet? What would you prefer? I know what I would prefer. So, a single question: how has having a friend in relapse affect you?
When I finished my treatment, I was very close to the people I had met in hospital. And the day I was a year out of treatment, Alvaro, which was the other patient that I sent away along with her, was also a year out of treatment. The other girl I knew was finishing treatment, so it seemed like we were all just fine. And then a few months later, Alvaro relapsed and ended up dying. And when I was going through it, I thought, why him and not me? Why does he have to go through it and not me? And what makes him different to me? Will this happen to me in a few months? Because he was perfectly fine when I met him, and he was happy and he was healthy, so why wouldn't it happen to me? And that was just a few months after I'd fought my own cancer, so it not only meant I had to stop my own life and go through my cancer, but when I finally got my life back together, it just fell apart again because a friend had died, and it was a really, really close friend. And no one understood what it meant, or I couldn't speak to anyone because, as I said, I didn't have a psychological help, and I didn't feel like my parents understood it, my friends could feel anywhere as like I felt it was a period where I felt again like why is this happening now that I get my life together and I'm finally back on track. I wasn't going through it, but it definitely felt like I was in a lot of pain, and it could have been me. So it made me think that why was I even bothering with getting my life back, because it was all gonna just fall apart again.
I met Álvaro, the guy she told about, the first day I came into the hospital in Niño Jesús, and he has already heard his first relapse. So he had bone cancer, and then he had a metastasis on his lung, and then the other lung. And when I met him, he has already in relapse. I mean, I was starting, and he was like her third role. I don't know, and it was like I have to go through all of that. I don't understand. At first I understood it was like one treatment, not one and another and another. And then suddenly he died. I mean, I was clean, I was healthy, I got my life back, I was having fun. And then I got a call from a friend that says, Álvaro died. And it makes the whole thing was turned upside down. I mean, I crashed inside. Why him? I mean, he taught me how to survive in all of this chaos, and he died. What's going to happen to me now? I'm lost. I know. Maybe in a few months I go back to the hospital again, and he isn't there. What? I don't. And I was frozen for a long time until I realized how to go back on track again.
I'm trying to don't think about the relapse, because it's a fear that I have inside of me, and when I listen the histories that from Álvaro, I prefer to don't think about it and don't speak about it. Sorry.
Thank you. And the last one, and the hard one, the palliative care. Nobody is prepared for this information. Who is mature enough? With this in mind, how can we encourage our patients to express their fears, desires, and importantly, leave their true footprint without having the chance to speak about what is happening? There are no simple answers here and no set rule. But we have to recognize that people will make different decisions based on what they know. By keeping from a patient a fellow patient's condition, we have a strong effect. Mistrust for being kept in the dark, for example, affording a patient closure of a friendship is important. So I have like the last two questions, hard questions. I told them before for them to give me the permission to ask this. And the first big question is, do you think patients should be aware that there is no more treatment available?
Yes. It's your life. It's your life that is ending. You should be able to decide what is going to happen, how you want it to happen before it does. I remember when I got a call from Álvaro saying he was in palliative care, and I remember saying, so what do we do now? And he went, well, let's just meet and have coffee, and it's fine. And I was like, no, you're dying, it's not fine. And he was like, yeah, it's fine, we're having coffee, absolutely fine. And I at the time, I was like, what is he doing? He doesn't realize. And I remember going for coffee, and he kept telling me about this girl that he really fancied and he was going to meet. And I was like, this is not happening. You're not going to get to meet her. And you're not going to get to, like, why are you telling me all about everything? It's not going to happen. And he kept speaking about a future. And for me, that was very hard to understand then. But now I can say you need to be able to decide how you want your care to end, how you want your care to start, and how you want it to end, and where you want it to happen, and you need to be able to have all the information from the start.
The only guy who died was Álvaro also, and I think you need to know what's happening. I mean, if that was my case, I would like to know if there's nothing more to do, and I would like to go to visit something or to do things that if I doesn't know what's going on with me, if I'm dying, maybe I wouldn't do. I don't know, if you say, Andrea, you're dying, maybe I would like to go and visit, I don't know, Barcelona. So you need to know what's happening to realize what's going to happen. I mean, if I know I'm going to die, I need to planify my goodbyes, for example.
I think that all the persons have the right to know what's going on their body and all their illness. And for me, the most important thing is how do they want to die, and how do they want to or travel, or the things to do, or the things you must to say before die. Because some people die and they can say the things that they will like to say if they know that they will die in 3 days. And it's a right for every person to know if they're going to die.
And the very last one, have you had a friend, you did, who has died of cancer? How did you find out? And where do you feel this hard information should come from?
I've known other people that have died, but the only person that I really, really knew and that was very close to me was Albano. And I went away for 5 days to visit my brother in Boston because he was in a year out studying abroad. And the day I was coming back, I got a text on Facebook saying he was dead. And I was going to get the plane back. It was like a 10-hour plane journey. It was the worst plane journey in my life. I don't wish it to anyone else. And I didn't even get to decide whether I wanted to go to his funeral or not, because I wasn't going to make it on time. I didn't get to say goodbye. And it just felt like my life was just torn apart again.
I found out about Álvaro because a friend of us called me on Saturday night. I remember I was at my hometown having fun with my friends with a drink on my hand, and I got my phone, and it was like, Andrea, you need to know that Álvaro died yesterday. And the glass on the floor, everything, and my face was white, and it was, what? I don't know, what happened? No, he has to die, and it happens yesterday. And I thought that you need to know it from me, not from Facebook or something. But a couple of years later, I met one girl in Ireland in a camp with children with cancer. And 2 summers ago, I went to her Facebook wall to see how she was doing everything. And I found out a bunch of messages saying, I miss you, and I hope you're okay wherever you are. And it was like, are you really all these people sending messages to her Facebook wall to wishing the goodbyes to her this way? And I found out that way at 3 a.m. in a summer night, that it was like, no, again, no, please. And I called my father crying, and he didn't know what to do because he was at work, and it was like, you need to relax, to keep calm, and think about it, that it didn't happen now. It was a few months later, and she's in peace now. But it's so shocking to see it on Facebook. It's like, no, please.
I had a lot of friends with cancer, but no one's died by now. Because I have one friend of mine that he has a very strange type of cancer, and he's in palliative care, and both of us know that he's gonna die, and I prefer to have the information that he's gonna die by he, and we are talking by phone, and he says to me, well, I think that I'm gonna die, I don't know where or how, but I'm gonna die. And it's too hard because I think that all the people that suffer the cancer will know that another person that it fights and they die, and it's very, very hard.
Thank you. I would like you to see the next image. This helps remember that our patients don't live in a bubble. We shouldn't put them in a box. Restrict them access to information, give them choices, communicate openly, not forget them in remission, infuse trust in relapse, and offer every support to palliative patients, and importantly, people around them. Thank you, girls. Thank you all for your support today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
¿Nos escapamos ya?